Hey, what's up? This is Laidback Luke, DJ and producer, Kung Fu athlete, and family guy. I love DJing and I love explaining you how to DJ, so I'm glad to bring you another DJ tutorial.
Then I slip so easily.
Today's subject might sound a little bit simple and straightforward, but even when you're an experienced DJ, you might be able to pick up some stuff from this video. So make sure to stay tuned, and here we go. Channel strip, something that not many DJ tutorials talk about because it's just so straightforward. But I'm here to give you some extra info and some extra insights as to how this works in a pro DJ type of realm. And so the channel strip is, this strip is one channel of the mixer where we have the fader, we have effects here, we have the filter, and then these three are the EQs, the low EQ, the mid EQ, the high EQ, and the gain. This whole strip you can see as what we use to make your track heard and what tools come with that. First things first, every track you play probably has a little bit of a difference in volume. And how to solve it? Obviously the fader is there to manipulate the overall volume of a track. So one could say, oh, if your track is a little bit too loud, you can just pull it back a little. Or if the next track is a little bit too low compared to this track, then maybe give that a little bit more volume. This is a good way of thinking, but not what I would recommend. What I would recommend you is to actually put the fader up, always. Obviously you can fade the track in while you mix, but the end position is always where it can't go any further than this. But so here's the problem. If the other track you're trying to mix is lower in volume, how do you give it that extra volume? Do you adjust the EQs to give it that extra volume? The answer is no. So if this is the next track you're mixing and you reach the end position here, what you utilize then is the gain to give it some extra volume. Or if the track is too loud here, you lower the gain a little bit. The reason for this in my case could be to do some trickery, and you want to have that end position always right over there to be able to do a couple of tricks and then always come back to that main volume you had before your trickery. And so here you realize and you know that the function of the gain is to actually give the track a little bit more volume or give it a little bit less. Why I wouldn't recommend you doing that through the EQs, I'm going to tell you that a little bit later. Okay, next up is the bass EQ. Probably the EQ that is used most in any type of mixing scenarios. We typically use it to mix tracks in and out. Let me give you a little bit of example here for those who don't know and those who are just beginning what the bass EQ does. We have a track here. By taking the bass EQ out, we lose all our low ends. And sometimes in the mix this can have like a really great effect where you take the bass away and the crowd dances a little bit less, and then you put it back and people get that renewed energy. While you are not mixing, this is a typical scenario that you could use at a festival or in a club, is controlling that energy through the bass EQ. But the bass EQ is really handy when it comes to mixing. What it does is when two tracks run next to each other, it gives the preference to the one or the other track within the bass frequencies. If you would have both bass frequencies running while you are mixing, this could give a distorted effect. This could give a clashing in the low frequencies, and this is actually not what you want. So whenever you start mixing a track, I would always say take out the bass EQ, and then when the track is at its full volume and maybe you've adjusted the gain a little bit, then I would say switch over the bass EQs. The one goes in and the other one goes out, so you don't have that clashing, and then you can mix out the other track. Let me just give you a simple mix example, and I'm going to use this moment to shamelessly plug my new techno alias, my techno alter ego dark channel. So this is unapologetic techno that I've been making on the side. Dark, abstract, it's dark channel. My new EP, #1, just came out, and these are 2 tracks of that EP that I'm going to mix together now. Okay, let's start over here. The BPMs are correct right now. Let's go. So over here on channel 1, I'll just take the bass frequencies out. I always do this before a drop as well. I'll always take the bass EQ out for a little bit of extra energy. Here we go. Just waiting for momentum here. Just do it here. Okay, so I'm mixing in. Already hear the bass clashing with each other a little bit, but here I'm gonna flip the bass EQs. Maybe a little bit more gain for some volume here. So there's the mix, and you heard it. Obviously they're not really in key either. This is D minor, this is F into D minor. So whenever you have the two tracks running, it's like, there's a little bit of friction there, and because you have the one bass EQ out, the friction is a little bit less, and especially in those big lower frequencies, you actually have the ability to blend better. Alright, before I explain to you what the mid EQ actually does and the high EQ and some really cool tricks with the filter, I am actually going to focus a little bit on my Kung Fu athlete part. I understand that a lot of you have not really been seeing that on this channel, but it's time for me to take a break. It's time for me to go outside and train some Kung Fu. How about that? Just finished my session here. Oh, I just texted Ashley as well. She asked me how it went. I feel alive, and that's the beauty of Kung Fu. Let's talk more about some DJ stuff right now. All right, that was a great session training outside. Spring is in the air. The weather is becoming really nice now, so time for me to train, and maybe time for you to train as well. Maybe you didn't know, apart from DJ courses, I actually have a Kung Fu course online as well, and we launched an official website, kungfuschoolonline.com. It's an online course. You can do it in your own time. I will be your teacher. I'm a certified Kung Fu teacher, and Kung Fu has done so much for my life. It's helped me stay grounded. It's helped me with my stress. It's helped me feeling great in my body and being control in my body. It has helped me with breathing as well, and so make sure to have a look. Maybe it's something for you. Okay, before we dive into the mid EQ, let's talk about the high EQ first, because that's often overlooked, but it's actually very helpful, and you can use it in a similar way as we use the low EQ, but obviously this one is for all the high-end frequencies in the mix. So these two tracks as well, I'm just going to give you another example where I'll have the two tracks running, but then I'll just flip the high EQs and see if you can hear the difference and the use of it. Alright, I'm gonna let this track run. I'll take out the high end EQ here, the high EQ out of here, no bass over here. We're gonna listen to the high end of this track. Over here, there's going to be an amazing ride, and actually I might just want to hear that and not the high-end EQ from this one. You could play with it. We could utilize this, taking the bass out here before the drop. And there's a high EQ over here. This is all cool and creative, but I'll have another very useful application for this right after I tell you about new music. My official remix for Zach Hackendorf. This vibey track, Waves, is out right now, and this track means so much to me. It will always take me back to mid-pandemic and to realize there's always hope, as it comes in waves.
It comes in waves. See you in the distance. I need to change. There's no need for resistance. I'm telling you everything is temporary. So let them take you where when it comes in waves.
Also, the newest Mixmash family member, SOXX, released quite an experimental track called Candyflip. It's pretty crazy. SOXX's talent is insane, and I'm so excited to have him on the label. Make sure to keep an eye out on him. There's much more where that came from. Talking about Mixmash family members, it has been a little bit quiet around Unity the last few months, but he's back at it again. Check out his new banger, Never Let It Go, and let me know what you think. Last track, we've got a Mixmash Bold release for you. Dytone, AllForU, is available everywhere. Make sure to check them all out in the description below, and make sure you add your favorites to your playlist as well. Let's get back to the vlog, and let me tell you how else you can use the high EQ. There's various, we call shuffles or swing to tracks, and a lot of times that swing is heard in the high-end frequencies. Sometimes you are playing a track that's purely on the 16th, and you're trying to mix it with a track that has the 16 shuffles, and a lot of times in the high frequencies you get this clash. Both tracks might be exactly on beat, but still you can hear the shuffle going on, and what that is, and it almost sounds like you're screwing up the mix, but you're not, and the high-end EQs will help you with that. Here's an example of two tracks that has a shuffle. This one has a shuffle, the Besno track, and this one, the Bogus track, does not have a shuffle, and so it gets tricky mixing the two. So I'll let this one run. We're going to try and mixing this one. So this is funky, yeah? Funky shuffle. So the next track, we're just going to key match it. And so what we do is we take the high end out of here and then possibly flip the basses. What we're utilizing the high EQ for in this example is to blend the mix. And this is the key to all the EQs that you have on a channel strip, is to be able to blend the mix more seamlessly. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it as clearly, but here's the two tracks running with both high-end EQs on. And taking the high-end EQ out here, or maybe here. A better blend, and sometimes to get you out of trouble. The mid EQ can get you out of trouble as well. If there's one rule that I have, is that I do not want nor appreciate mixing two vocals on top of each other. The reason is that a vocal really stands out. People tend to sing a vocal along, and then having two vocals clashing with each other is as if you're trying to have a conversation with someone, but both people are talking at you at the same time. Does that make sense? So now I'm going to do the same with the mix. Actually, this time I'm going to have both tracks just running at the same time, and then I'll let you see where the mid EQ can help you out. So both of these tracks have a vocal. This one not necessarily. The Bogus track not necessarily, but it is a little bit of a vocal chant that goes on, and both of them will be pushing up against each other in the mix. So you're hearing them clashing right now, and this will help. Either here, all of a sudden there's this space in the mix, or we can do it the other way around, here. Utilizing the EQs in this way makes you so much more flexible in the mix, and you are actually able to do whatever you want with the mix and even play with it a little bit. Alright, some filter trickery, some filter tips and tricks here as well, because I love doing that in a mix now and then, and sometimes people actually forget what fun stuff we are able to do with the filter. Okay, quick filter example. When you play the track, you move the knob all the way to the left, the filter goes into a low pass frequency mode, low pass filter mode. You'll only hear the low end frequencies here. When you move the knob all the way to the right, you'll only hear the high end frequencies over here in the high pass filter corner. Now we can utilize this in the mix. So we're gonna pretend we're in the mix, we're dancing. Ah, how beautiful. Can you imagine if it would be a festival or a club? We're out, we're dancing, the crowd is dancing, the music is blasting. Here's a very simple trick on how you get the crowd to respond without using a mic. So you're playing the track, everyone's dancing, right? And at a certain point, you're gonna turn the knob pretty much all the way to the left. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it gets a little bit tricky. My point here, and I don't know if you could hear that over your phone speakers or whatever you're listening to now, but when you move that knob all the way to the left, all you hear is this works instantly in front of a crowd. People will start making noise, people will be clapping, people will be cheering. And the same way, you can do that with the other side of the frequencies when you turn the knob all the way to the right. So pretend you're mixing, or you're DJing, or you're dancing, and then all of a sudden you go here. So when you're playing, it's a wall of sound coming through, and then when you utilize the filter knob like this, frequencies get cut out, and especially all the way to the right where you only hear the high-end frequencies, all of a sudden the sound is very small and very little, and people will be shocked, but also in euphoria. And guess what happens when you put the knob back to the middle? People will go even wilder, because then all the frequencies are back. Okay, so the last one for this vlog, putting the knob in the middle, is actually a really good tactic. When you've mastered the track, everything is maxed out, everything sounds great, you've handed the track to a record label, the record label has put it out. So the last thing you want to do is a DJ putting some extra mid or putting some extra bass into your track. So here's my recommendation. Whenever you're playing a track, never go over the middle with your EQs. Never, ever, ever. Even if it's like this, when everything is in the middle, it's exactly how the producer had intended their track. Yes, you're always able to take away the frequencies, that's okay, and play around with what leverage you have, but never ever really put all the EQs out to the right, because the sound will get distorted, the sound will get out of balance. Yes, you can maybe have a little bit sometimes just to make sure the mix is blending right, but I will definitely recommend staying right there in the middle with all your EQs and on your channel strip right here. I hope these little tips and tricks and possible DJ channel awareness will help you out. Did you know that I have 2 DJ courses online? Together with digital DJ tips, I created 2 legit DJ courses that are available through the link below. The first one out there is my creative DJing course, where I'll take you on a trip inside my mind and I'll teach you all that's to know about DJing DJ tricks, mixing secrets, and way more. And want to play unique DJ sets but you just started producing? Then my second course, Bootlegs, Mashups and Re-edits course is just the thing for you. I'll teach you how to produce unique versions of your favorite tracks just like the pros do. If that sounds interesting, you can sign up through the links below. Next time's vlog, a little bit of controversy? Make sure you hit that subscribe button right now to not miss out, and do not forget to like my vlog as well. Next time, a good old travel and DJing vlog. How about that? I'm playing 2 shows at Summit Austin in Texas on March 18 and 19, and finally, I'll be able to take you back on tour with me again. But there's still a pandemic going on, and they lifted all the mask mandates in the state of Texas, and how will all of this go? You'll see it in next time's vlog. Until then, L's up, rave safely, and salute.